Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again late in the day on day 2 at NRB 2024 right here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've got a friend, fellow member of Conduit Church, Tim Bisagno. Man, thanks for coming on.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me. I've always wanted to be here.
Dude, I'm so glad you are. And we got a common interest. And I know that more now than I did even when we were in Montana fly fishing, because you finally talked to me. No, we're both just taking it easy out there.
Yeah,
man.
we were.
But Tim is the founder of Mission X Mission. You can go to missionxmission.org to learn more about what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to put the link in the description, so check that out. But Mission X Mission has two really strong components right now.
Sir.
One is a safe place online for women. I want you to speak to that. But then secondly, this is where we connected, StandUpDude. So many of you guys know I run Warrior Mind, Body, and Soul for men that want a personal reset to last, for over a 2-month period, get back in competition and community and kind of reset yourself, especially if you're a little bit off of where you need to be from your mental standpoint, physical or spiritual. But Mission X Mission and StandUpDude brings another package to that table. But tell us a little bit about the overall, and then a Safe Place Online and StandUpDude.
Yeah. So I'll start with Safe Place Online. It's one of the 3 ministries that we have, but a safeplaceonline.com is specifically for young ladies. Life can be hard. Jesus cares. Go to a Safe Place Online and chat with someone right now that understands. So we put pain points across all the social networking and memes. Young people, young ladies come there. We make sure that they've been felt, heard, and understood and listened to. And then at that point, we share the real hope that we have, and that's Jesus. And we give them a chance to respond. I think a lot of people are telling people about, thank God, telling people about Jesus. But most of the time there's a missing element, and that is giving them a chance to respond to the gospel. Mm-hmm. And that is what we do on the daily, and we're seeing a lot of activity.
It's blowing up, right?
It's blown up.
How many women are involved?
Well, we have about 1 million to 1.5 million. It was our height in last year of unique visitors per month to our website.
Per month, wow.
Yeah, and so we've had since we started in January of 2020, which of course COVID happened soon thereafter.
Yeah.
Since that day in January 2020, we've seen a little over 1 million decisions, first-time decisions to follow Christ.
Wonderful.
And they've all been young ladies, which might make me transfer if you transition. If you
what are you transitioning?
We're not transitioning yet.
Well, not gender, like you're talking about. No. We're gonna.
Wow, I'm going to transition right here.
Well, you're talking about how popular the women's program is. Then you're talking about transitioning.
Yeah,
like, no, Tim, we need you on our team.
Let's don't
we
do
need you on the
that.
bro team.
I'm with you, bro. As a matter of fact,
I shouldn't have gone
I'm
there.
recruiting. No,
I threw you for a loop, man.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Just for a second,
Yeah.
No, transitioning to
StandUpDude.
StandUpDude, and as you and I said, it's hard to ignore a brush fire. A bonfire is what the Lord is doing over with the young ladies. But my heart of my heart, I have 2 young men, a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old young man. My heart is to encourage young men to be the man that God created them to be. I don't like to say who God created as in past, but who is creating you to be today.
What does that mean to you? Because a lot of men, they hear that. I mean, not that it's a platitude, but it could be. If you back that up, what does that mean for a man to be who God created them to be? Is that like a John Eldredge, like find your adventure, like find your passion along with your Christian faith? What does it mean?
You know what? The name of the website is called StandUpDude.com, and it means to stand in your biblical masculinity.
Okay.
It means to care for the women in your life. It means to care for your friends. It means to stand for your country. It means to find your voice. It means the opposite would be to stand and shrink back and to stay small. We've been the young men, which makes me crazy enough to start this what I hope to be a movement for young men to return to their heart, and that their heart is saying, I am made for more. I do not believe the lies of society that are being told to me that because I'm a man, I am masculine, and I need to dial it down. And something in
where society says because you're a man, your masculinity is toxic, so dial that down.
Dial that down.
Right.
Or even dial down any form of being operating in your manhood.
Right.
And so what we're doing is, I like to call it, we're calling forward. We're not calling them out. Nobody really likes to be called out. We're calling forward young men to be the man that God created them to be. We start by introducing them to their Creator. If they're going to be the man they've been created to be, they need to start by having a model. That is their Creator. His name is Jesus. We introduce them to Jesus, and then we mentor them through different forms of digital discipleship. My dream and my goal is to have camps, starting small. It's fine. Small is fine. Safe Place Online started small as well, but to have in-person groups as well to encourage the young men to grow in Christ in their masculinity. I love what you're doing. You're the mind, body, and soul. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Warrior, mind, body, soul.
MBS. To be warriors of that. I'm very interested to know much more about that.
Yeah, we can talk more about it. Tell me about the Jesus masculinity, because if he's the original Father, the Creator is part of the Trinity.
Yeah.
His masculinity, people all the time talk about how good Jesus was, holy, and you see a lot of the churchianity imagery of Jesus being very nice, right? Tell me about the masculine side of Jesus. This is something I do talk about in my Warrior program, but I want to hear from your angle, because we've not discussed this.
No, we haven't, not at all. Well, so often I think they talk about, they point to the temple when he turned over the tables and things like that.
It's pretty manly. I mean, it is.
It
right?
is pretty manly. I don't like to have been there. Well, you know what I love? Like, here's what's
He
cool.
fashioned it, right? He fashioned
okay, you took it.
We're connecting. We're connecting.
Yes, we are. He fashioned the whip. I could just imagine him half in the background going, and he's putting this thing together, and he's watching, and he's assessing, and he's looking, and then he goes in there and he turns it on. But I think there's a beautiful piece of I don't think you have to be mad to be angry. I think he showed up. He spoke up, and the righteousness built up inside of him. When you're standing for something, which is what we're encouraging young men to do, to stand up. He knew who he stood. He knew who he stood for. He knew who he stood with, and he knows what he's standing on. He's standing on truth. He's standing with the rest of the Trinity, and he's standing he's standing on the truth of the principle to be who he was created to be. He stepped into his biblical masculinity, which he created, and he spoke up, and he took care of business. I think we're so often we're so afraid to step in and take care of business. We've dialed back on being the fathers of our children. We've parlayed that over to our wives or the youth department or whatever you got going on. We've stepped back out of being the leader in our homes instead of standing in the calling that we are meant to have, meant to do, meant to utilize, meant to inhabit. And we pour all of that energy into our work and things like that. I heard a stat recently that fathers were almost hating to see the time that was spent away. The time that was spent with their children during COVID, and now they were going to have to return back to regular work, that they almost hated to have to do that. For the first time, men were realizing, I love being at home, I love being a man, I love being a husband, I love being a father, and I actually really love my kids, and I actually really like being around them. Yeah. And so these are the things that God put in us that we're calling we're calling young men forward to stand in that biblical responsibility.
That is really good, and you're an interesting guy to talk to from this perspective. As I look around and I see all of these, Christian businesses, nonprofits, corporations, etc. These people, and there's nothing wrong with being busy if you're busy with good things, but like you said, there's a time to focus, most importantly, on your family, those you love the most, right?
Yes, sir.
I've got 2 sons. I could spend all of my time, and I do too much, to be honest, between the Warrior program, between Instagram, trying to build it, between my Rumble show, all this stuff. You have a father who I know that you love. I've heard the way that you talk about your father.
Yes, sir.
He had 22,000 people attending his church.
Yes, sir.
I don't know anything about your home life. I may have heard whispers on the trip or something.
Okay.
But my concern is with people in ministry that are really, God's either using them at a high level or they're trying to build it. They're so busy, they're just as guilty as the world on not spending time at home.
Yeah.
What was your experience?
Wow. What was my experience now?
And I may have opened a can of worms.
You did. That's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's beautiful. How long do we have here?
Let's take 10 minutes at the most because we're going to hit Nashville traffic.
10 minutes till we're done. Okay. So I'll spend just a couple minutes on what you've mentioned. So, if you're asking me, what did I see modeled by my father when I was a young man, is a little different. But it was beautiful in many, many ways.
Right.
But what I modeled for my children is much different in some ways than what I was modeled. So which one are you wanting to?
I want you to tell the people what you feel is most important based on your personal experience. Growing up with a father in ministry that was killing it in terms of what people could see. Yeah. But you were a son, and that's what. So you give what you feel is most important.
So what I was modeled by my father very beautifully is that I was very important in his life. And he didn't just use it with words or say it with words. He did it with action. We've all heard the term, I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he does it. I literally don't know how he did what I'm about to tell you. Okay? What he did do, in spite of coming up with 4 brand new sermons every single week. 4 new sermons every week. In spite of running a staff of 110 people. In spite of writing 40 books. 40. In spite of being on the board of several universities and things like that. In spite of those things, guess what he did with me and my brother, who was 13 months younger, on Saturdays. Don't forget, Saturdays is the day before game day, bro. He should be my
Christian pastoral game day.
My intellect tells me I got to be in the books. I got to perfect the sermon. I'm going to stand before about 15,000 people in 12 to 15 hours, and I'm going to preach. You know what he did on Saturdays? He took me and my brother water skiing. You know what he did on Saturdays? He sat in the bleachers and watched me play center field,
Oh, wow.
and make diving catches and stand up and applaud me. You know what he did on Saturdays? He came to every track meet. And I ran the high hurdles, and he was around the 60 to 70 yard point, and he's yelling at the top of his lungs, "Come on, Tim! Come on, Tim!" And I can hear my father's voice above everybody else's voice in the entire crowd of him saying, "Come on, Tim!" And so, because of his presence back in the day, amongst all the voices in the crowd, I began to recognize the sound of my father's voice above the crowd.
Wow.
And that's what I can still do today. I can still hear my father's voice saying, "Come on, Tim. Come on, Tim. Don't quit. Don't quit." And he made me feel very, very loved and very, very important. And I don't know how he did it, but he was very present. He loved having fun. He was the most unserious pastor you've ever seen in your life. He had a slogan: "Tim, my favorite people in the world are pastors who don't act like pastors." That was my dad.
Yeah.
My favorite, he loved my wife. He called her pretty. That was her nickname. He called her his queen. He treated her beautifully and wonderfully. He jokingly would say, her spiritual gift is serving, and my spiritual gift is receiving.
How about you and your wife?
It's very similar.
Right.
She's such a servant. But yes, I serve. I love my wife. She's super fun, and she loves my kids. She serves endlessly. And so let me tell you about my kids. How I have brought up
before
my
you do, I want to say one
boys.
thing. I did not expect that answer. I really love the fact that you gave a picture of what it should be like having success in ministry, and because you just think, how could they possibly do it? Like you said, I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
You said he actually did it.
He did it.
That's wonderful.
I don't know how he did it. Literally, I don't know how he could do it.
You always hear the opposite story. If they've got the big mega church that's exploding, usually the kid is left behind in some ways, and I'm sure that. Well, anyway, that's just amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Of course, thank you, Dad. So one of the things that he didn't do. So I take all of what he did, and I move that into my home with my two boys, who are fine young men. They're amazing, way better than I was. I'm not just saying that. They're way better than I was. It's amazing kids. So one of the things that he didn't do, he didn't talk a lot about his faults. He didn't talk about those kind of things. So one of the communication points that I do a lot of with my boys is we talk about the difficult top subjects of pornography. I talk about the difficult subjects of when you're alone with a girl and what that should look like and what it shouldn't look like and how to be careful. My dad didn't really have those conversations with me. We have difficult conversations about drinking. We have difficult conversations about marijuana. We have difficult conversations about how to hear God's voice and things like that. But let's keep it on the reality level of just drinking, just pornography and things like that. And so I've shared my struggles with them and what that can look like and how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that conversation with my dad. I was a drug addict and alcoholic. My dad, just to make sure that I don't paint him as a perfect angel, the deepest conversations with me and my brother that he had about drinking and drugging were, boy, am I glad my sons don't do that. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, we were. Yeah. Okay? This had nothing to do with my dad. I wasn't running from God. I had no problem with my father or the church even, which is incredible, really, because I heard a lot of bad things about the church when you're surrounded by a lot of people. But my point is that I had difficult conversations, and I talked about my addiction, and I've been sober for 34 years now, and what that feels like to be sober, what it felt like to be drunk and high, 5 to 6 days a week. and how that makes you feel, and where that leaves your heart feeling, and why did I do it, and why did I stop doing it, and praise God that the part of my story is that they have modeled in front of them is that I've been sober now for 34 years, and that means a lot to them. That they don't talk about it a lot, but I see it. I see it all the time. So those kind of things have helped me be a good father. I think it's been a beautiful piece of how my boys have turned out really, really well. And
so let me ask you a clarifying question real quick.
Yes.
So you would say, now obviously that there's limits to based on age and based on what's appropriate to share with your children, your boys.
Yes.
But you think that a transparent approach about your own struggles far exceeds the silent treatment when it comes
Absolutely.
to... Yes. Okay.
For me, it worked.
Yeah.
For me, it worked really well. It's honest, and when they struggle, they've already had the road paved with truth, and are able to share with me and to know that Dad certainly understands. We have amazing conversations now.
Well, it's got to be powerful to tell your son that, hey, you know what, drinking feels good at first, but then the lifestyle develops, and then it begins to kind of suck your life away, and it makes your life kind of suck. Like with time.
It does.
And if they hear that, it's very honest versus just, hey, don't drink.
Yes.
Don't drink. And also going in front of the church and saying, I'm so glad my kids don't drink. Because then there's a double life because you've got to hold up the image.
So you want to know something crazy? Talking about double life, people, after I tell you this, people often will say, man, you had a really gray zoned life. Like, nope. I had a black one and I had a white one. I was either in this one or this one. What I mean by this is, bro, I was in seminary and employed at one of the very largest churches, a mega church in Dallas, while I was in seminary. Yet, while I was in seminary, I was dealing ecstasy on Deep Ellum in Dallas, and I was high and drunk at least 5 to 6 days a week. And
there's a deep seminary drug scene, huh?
There is a deep seminary drug scene.
You heard it here.
My point, especially the Southwest. Just joking, Southwest. Not your fault.
My next guest will be Liberty University and Asbury Theological School. Thank you. Go on.
Thank you. I heard Liberty's pretty sweet. I've known a lot of solid dudes to get.
I wasn't cracking on Liberty, man.
No, I know you weren't. But to get on this Liberty on the Liberty tip there. I didn't know of Liberty before I moved to this area, and there are a lot of solid,
no doubt,
solid. Like, where did Liberty come from, and why are all these solid dudes, solid dudes that came from Liberty? Anyway, way to go, Liberty. But my point is that I think that honesty and truthfulness and being present, and that's why I'm so interested in your mind, body, and soul pieces, is that being present with your children, being young men, being present with their anything that is in front of them, and being that. Is so important. I think a lot of that has to do with the mind, body, and soul. Very interested, as a matter of fact, on maybe another day to know about what your.
Well, hey, we know where to find each other, right?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact,
I think we should join. We need to get together. We'll talk through it. Talk about how StandUpDude and Warrior can help each other.
Absolutely.
Because Warrior has been growing, and 95% of the guys that have been through it are like, I'm so glad I did that.
I saw a bunch of
the other 5% just kind of. They couldn't handle it.
I saw several testimonies on your website, and I love it very, very much.
Well, thank you.
Hey, can I read a scripture that we have founded?
Scriptures are allowed on the J Slay platform.
Yeah, I bet. 1 Corinthians 16:13-14 says, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, and let all that you do be done in love." And the first part of that, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, sounds a lot like chest beating. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what about let all that you do be done in love is a beautiful balance of the life of being living as a masculine male in 2024, in 2025, in 2055, and as long as you have presence on this earth and air in your lungs, to be the man that God created you to be. And I just encourage you to be that man. It's not who you were, but who you are is how I prefer to say it. Be the man that you are created to be.
Tim, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Brother, thank you.
Yes,
I love your heart,
yes,
love your testimony.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
It's a funny one.
No, it's a great one. Guys, we will be back tomorrow for day 3 of the NRB conference to round it out. And guys, I'll see you soon. I'm going to go hit this Nashville traffic.
Woo, baby. See ya.
It's no secret. The world wants you weak. There's a coordinated effort by governments, media, healthcare, education, and more to destroy men of strength entirely. This agenda slowly seduces men into weakness and compliance. They become addicted to comfort, mentally weak, and ultimately reliant on the state. But embedded within the spirit of every man, there is a deep desire to be strong and independent, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well, to become the fathers, husbands, and community leaders that God designed us to be. My name is Jeremy Slayden, and I understand the struggle firsthand. As a former professional athlete, I found myself being led down a path of confusion and weakness after my sports career ended. Slowly, I became addicted to comfort. I was sluggish, out of shape, and disconnected from God. My spiritual life was in disarray, and my marriage was at risk. I knew things had to change, and after a big wake-up call, I embarked on a personal reset that transformed my mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. After my own personal transformation, I witnessed countless men trapped in similar circumstances, targeted by a culture aiming for their irrelevance. This led me to launch the Warrior Mind, Body, and Soul program. Warrior MBS is a 70-day competitive experience that has been designed from the ground up to unleash the strong man within you. It includes a comprehensive eating plan, a personally customized workout plan based on your goals, soul-building operations to strengthen your faith, and a brotherhood of like-minded Christian men who are with you in the fight. This experience is crafted from the ground up to help you get your mojo back. Here's what others are saying about Warrior MBS.
The program was amazing for me, just for muscle toning, for overall fitness.
Great diet, great soul building ops, great people you get to meet.
One of the things I love is that I'm surrounded by like-minded men who love the Lord, men who want to be good leaders, not only in their home, but also in the community for which they live.
It's changed my life. I think it has potential to change yours. I highly encourage that you join.
The world needs men who are strong, compassionate, and resilient, and it needs them now more than ever. Join me on this journey and become a warrior in mind, body, and soul.